Hey, you beautiful people. So, a lot of you ask me, how is it that I am able to stay here and live in Peru while continuing to make money and sustain myself? And that is a great question. There's actually two things that I have to say about this. First, I'm going to go in a more general sense, and then I'm going to talk about myself more specifically. So, in the general sense, here they have a visa that's specifically for working nomads, people who are able to work online and travel anywhere and work. So if you want to do that, and let's say you're a coder for some company and they don't need you to come into the office, you can work out of Peru and get a visa for it for multiple months on end. A lot of people do it. A lot of people make a lot of money. However, my specific situation, and this is a great question. First of all, I do work online, but not in that way. I work for myself. So basically, here in Peru, a lot of the reason why a lot of people come here is to sit with ayahuasca. If you haven't heard of ayahuasca, check out I'll make a video about it in the future, but otherwise, look it up online, do a little research. But essentially, a lot of people come here for an indigenous medicine called ayahuasca. So we get a lot of tourists coming through, but a lot of people don't know how to work with that medicine, and it basically causes some hallucinations and some teachings and some learnings, and you go through a lot through the experience. Basically, I help people work through those experiences. So let's say you drank a cup of ayahuasca and your world got flipped upside down. I help people flip it back right side up. I have a degree in psychology, and I have been working with these plant medicines like ayahuasca for about 8 to 10 years now. I don't remember the exact date, I don't keep track of it. However, that's the majority of what I do. So, how do I do that online? Well, first of all, I get a lot of people here that come through here that I work with. However, there are people all over the world that take ayahuasca and other psychedelic medicines. So, what I do is I look online for those people, and essentially I connect with them and I set up a plan for them to help them work through everything. And for that service, I charge a certain amount of money. If you're interested in that particular thing and you drink psychedelics or take psychedelics, go ahead and let me know in the comments section or reach out to me on my Instagram and my bio, because that would be the best way to get. That's actually where most of you ask the questions to me for some reason. You don't put it in the comment section. You go over to my Instagram and hey, you guys do you. I don't care how my community talks to me, and I don't care how I talk to the community. As long as you guys are happy with it, I'm happy with it too. So that's the majority of what I do. However, another thing that I do, which is a little more niche, is I really like tabletop RPGs. So I will actually, and I don't really talk about this, so but you guys, there's like 330 of you. So I actually run tabletop games online for money. So I'll usually be $5 an hour. I'll run for 4 hours, and it'll be $5 per person per hour. So um, I run games for money, and that's a lot of fun too. You know, it's creative, it's artistic, it's a hobby of mine. So I like to run it and have other people do it. And I will tell you, for those of you who do like to play D&D and other tabletop games, having someone who drank ayahuasca run the game makes it nuts. You never know what's coming next, because I've seen things you couldn't imagine, and not in like a high place. Like I've seen things that I wish I didn't see, that I have seen, that I can now pull from and put into the game. So yeah, but those are my main ways of making money. But there's plenty of ways. Some people find jobs here. There are some managerial jobs that they don't pay exactly the same, but they want United States workers, especially if you can speak English and Spanish. They bring you in. There's jobs here. Now, those are a little bit more competitive, but they are around. Wow, it is very windy right now, to the point where my phone is moving around. There are services like tourism that you could provide. Now, a lot of the tourism, for example, like one of the big things here is taking horses or four-wheelers or quad bikes, whatever, depending on where you're at, what you call them, around the valley. That market's kind of saturated because a lot of people are doing that. However, there are things like certain hikes that maybe people aren't capitalizing on, and different things like that, that you can also be the connection between the US and Peru, where you find out how much things cost, you sell them for a little bit more, maybe you give half of what the extra you make to the people, and you keep the rest for being the connection, because the people would have now never found the people that you brought to them anyway. There are limitless ways, but I will say there's this energy here, specifically in the Sacred Valley, not the entirety of Peru. So I'm not talking about the entirety of Peru, but there's an energy here that's kind of like very lax and slow moving. So I find a lot of the people who come here, their monetary transversion is so good that they just kind of sit and they only work when they have to. I think the trick about coming here, and I'm struggling with this myself, is continuing to keep the pressure on to move forward and keep making money, because you're able to make enough to support yourself for the whole year within a few months of work if you're making US dollars. We'll just say if everything costs a fourth less because the currency is a fourth weaker. So if you make $1 instead of 25 cents every hour, and a normal person has to work 12 months out of the year to pay for their life here, then if you can work 3 months making 4 times as much money just by virtue of the transversion, you only have to work 3 months to live for 12, essentially. That's really simplified down, and it almost never seems to work out that way. But in theory, you should be able to work very little and live for very long periods of time off that little bits of money. So for those of you thinking of coming here or moving here, there are plenty of options, but I do recommend having something that you are making money from in the US already before you come, or a guaranteed shot of how you're going to be making money when you get here. There's a ton of different examples that I could go through, but yeah, have your stuff kind of figured out. You don't need to necessarily cover everything, but having some of it covered when you're coming, so you know that most of the months out of the year is covered, so you have some time to figure out what you're going to do, is a good idea. Otherwise, for those of you that like living in Peru content, which I live in Peru and I can deliver said content, go ahead and click this button right here. It's a little subscribe button, and it lets you know what's going on in Peru, the Amazons, and everything all around, at least as much as I can. And right up here is a video that YouTube knows is good for you. So if you click on that and you enjoyed this, then it's going to be a perfect match, a match made in heaven. Otherwise, I will see you soon.